What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning back into another episode of The Loud Bostonian. Today we're talking about the upcoming Sony movie, Venom. Venom is a comic book adaptation of the character by the same name. The character's origins come from the Spider-Man comic series. Spider-Man, in the Secret Wars storyline, goes off to do battle on alien planets and returns with a brand new black suit. The black suit is an alien symbiote that gets on his original suit, increases his strength, and increases his speed and everything like that. Everything you'd want to increase Spider-Man's power. It's incredible. However, it also has a negative effect on Peter Parker and Spider-Man, where it is slowly he realizes this thing is not good. This thing that is on him is definitely a force of evil, and he needs to discard it. He gets rid of the suit. Simultaneously in the storyline, Eddie Brock, a reporter for the Daily Bugle, is fired as a result of his work investigating Spider-Man, and basically when the suit's discarded and when Eddie Brock is discarded, they find each other and create Venom. The symbiote retains most of, and it might be symbiote, I don't know, I've always called it symbiote, so correct me if you guys think that it's one way or the other, but I've heard many iterations of it. Anyways, the symbiote was able to retain some of Spider-Man's abilities. So that's why when it gets on Eddie Brock, you could see the original iteration of Venom has a white spider on his chest and is able to shoot webs, crawl walls, everything that Spider-Man could do, Venom can now do. He's the perfect bad guy to introduce into the Spider-Man. He was the exact opposite of him, and he was just a really cool design. A lot of the characters in the 90s had awesome designs, whether it's the Image comics of Spawn, Wildcats, things like that. They always looked really cool. So this is fit right in that 90s the 90s genre of really cool looking villains and heroes. So he's a fan favorite across the board. People love Venom. So Sony Pictures now, moving forward with their idea of creating this Spider-Verse, at least that's what they were going to call it now. I believe they call it the Sony universe of Marvel characters or something like. It's horrible, whatever it is. It's way worse than the DCEU or whatever those names are. But so they're moving forward with a Venom movie. The trailers have dropped, and the character looks cool, and the movie looks dark and intimidating, and all this stuff. But there's some problems I have with it. Right off the bat, namely, how do you do a Venom movie without introducing Spider-Man first in the universe? I mean, Spider-Man has been introduced. Obviously, Tom Holland has his Avengers movies. He has Spider-Man Homecoming. But the suit itself, not retaining the abilities of Spider-Man, is crucial to the character. Now, I get that they rework the story in a way that it's going to work. He doesn't have the spider on his chest. But to me, it is such a disappointment to have an origin story like Venom should have and just totally ignore it. Now, the character can still be cool. He's got plenty of other villains he goes up against and that also have symbiotes. So that's his own storyline of villains he could have. But this character needed to have the Spider-Man introduction. It just doesn't make sense to me. And as a longtime comic reader and a longtime fan of the character of Venom, I just don't understand creating this character this way. I don't understand how you couldn't have just waited until like Spider-Man 2 or 3 and then have a Venom movie. And I get Sony's trying to make their own movies. I get that they're trying to have, not competition really with Marvel because they have their own deals with them, but you need to have the character done right. You're asking the fans of this character to forgive a whole lot right away in that this character does not have the Spider-Man tie-in. I mean, I imagine when this was first introduced, and I knew that they weren't going with the Spider-Man route, that there was a way that they could have done it. It's easy. You have a backstory tied in where Eddie Brock is fired for trying to find information on the Spider-Man character, who is, not mainstream hero. Fired for trying to look up and sell a hero that people didn't believe existed, So he has a hatred for Spider-Man, right? Then you have him leave and go to San Francisco, which is where I believe this movie is set, right? He's out of the New York setting, then the alien falls. And the hatred that he has for Spider-Man could have turned into what he believes the symbiote should act, and the symbiote gets those powers based on his mental recognition or recall of what Spider-Man has, or what Spider-Man could do, right? That's an easy way to write that in there. And it still ties into Spider-Man. And I'm not saying, I haven't seen this movie, obviously, so I have no idea if there is a Spider-Man tie-in. But the fact that they're going so far as to say that, well, there's no Spider-Man tie-in at all. You guys, Spider-Man's not in this movie. There's no connection to Spider-Man. That is crazy to me, because this character, at its core, needs a hatred for Spider-Man to start off with, and then an ability to grow into someone who has a disdain for Spider-Man, but wants to be a hero in the light that Spider-Man is. Now, forget about all the Spider-Man stuff. This movie has one thing going for it that I'm super excited to see. All the trailers have shown Eddie Brock's Venom going up against the main bad guy in this film, I believe, is Riot, and I believe he is some rich billionaire who is doing science experiments with the symbiotes once they find them on that fallen spaceship. Now, I believe he's going. I think he's going up against Riot. I think that's what has been confirmed that he's going up against. That's going to be the main villain. But the other side of the story is Woody Harrelson was cast in this movie. He's the only character on IMDb that does not have a character name associated with it, and there has been no footage of him whatsoever released to the internet. This has a lot of people super excited that Woody Harrelson is going to be the character of Credence Cassidy. Credence Cassidy, or is Cledence? Might be Cledence. Whoever. He is a serial killer in the Spider-Man universe, in the Venom universe. He's a serial killer who then gets his own symbiote and becomes Carnage. Carnage is a character that almost as popular as Venom. People can't wait to see him. He's a ruthless killer that loves tormenting people and killing them. So he's going to be a great clash for Venom to go up against, and it's honestly a fan favorite. So, and Woody Harrelson playing him is going to be unbelievable, especially if he goes full-on natural-born killer style, you know, like Hick, which I think he would do for this character. I mean, the guy's name's Credence Cassidy, and that's like as hick of a name as it gets, so I can't wait to see that iteration of this character. And if that's who Woody Harrelson's playing, that gets me excited to see the two clash, especially because Woody Harrelson's a great actor, so seeing him play this kind of a role would be fantastic. Now, I don't know what degree they're going to use him. He hasn't been in any of the promotional footage, so I'm hoping they're not actually going to use him too much in this film. You show him in the beginning as Credence Cassidy, being a serial killer, being apprehended for some murder or something on the side, brought into this experiment where they're using, you know, the symbiotes to test how they integrate with humans. So why not use a serial killer that's going to go on death row to test it out? Obviously, that's going to go horribly wrong, and he's going to escape. But I'm hoping that that all is the end of the film, and that you don't even see an interaction between him and Venom, because using him in the sequel would be a way better idea than using him in this movie, especially if they already have Riot lit as a character that they're pushing forward as the main villain. That gets me excited for the film. Another thing that gets me less excited for the film is how deeply that they're going into this carnivorous, cannibal-type Venom. Now, I've read a bunch of Venom comics in my life. I know there's a couple iterations where he does do disgusting things like bite people's arms off and whatnot, but seeing it in the trailers that he's, like, deciding what organs he wants to eat off the criminals he's stopping, I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me. You're trying to sell him, I know that he's no hero is like the slogan for this film, but this is a big difference between somebody being a hero and somebody being a cannibal. So I think that they could have avoided that route altogether. And having him be like a brutal, like, you know, force to be reckoned with would have been just as much impact. Like if you'd seen him in the trailer, like just like pummeling bad guys and like throwing them through walls and really like getting how brutal this character could be was great. For me, the cannibalistic stuff's not working. The design looks great. I think he looks fantastic. I know that they have a little bit of white sprinkled through it so that like you get the idea that, you know, we understand that he should have had the spider on his chest. But I don't know. I'm going to see this movie regardless. I see almost any comic movie regardless. And Venom's a character that I truly like. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I'm very hesitant to think that this movie's going to be good. But I hope they prove me wrong. I really do, because Venom's a character that for years I've loved, ever since a childhood. I mean, any kid in the 90s loves Venom. That's pretty much how it goes. I mean, his comics aren't that great. The new storyline, his new comic that's out right now with the originator of the symbiotes like coming to Earth and like all this, that's a great comic line so far. I'm digging all the issues I've read, and I really dig the Agent Venom storyline where Flash Thompson from the Spider-Man universe becomes Venom. That's a really cool storyline, and that's a really heroic storyline. He's like a war hero who loses his legs in battle, and he's really turned his life around trying to imitate his hero, Spider-Man. He loses his legs in battle, and then he ends up getting recruited into the Agent Venom protocol, where they give him the symbiote. He gets his legs back when he has the symbiote on, and he's only got, I think it's like 13 or 12 hours is the length of time he can be with this, merge with the symbiote before it starts having mental control of him. So it's a really cool storyline, and you guys should honestly read it. I think it's unbelievable. And that would have been a cool one for them to go with, because then you could have set it in the future and it would have separated itself from Spider-Man, and you could have alluded to all the past iterations. But they want to go with Eddie Brock, and what's his face playing Eddie Brock. I don't know why his name's escaping me right now. God damn it. Whatever. The guy that cast to play Eddie Brock is perfect. Tom Hardy. There it is. Tom Hardy is perfect to cast as Eddie Brock and as Venom. He's a big dude. I don't really dig the voice he's going for, the accent. I'm wondering if with all the things that they're taking in this movie, all the liberties they're taking with the storyline, you could have just left him as a goddamn Brit. You know, like I feel like his normal British accent would have been the least jarring thing that they have done to this film. But anyways, like I said, I'm very hopeful that it'll be good, but I'm not setting my expectations too high because I don't want to be disappointed by this. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think about the Venom movie. You've seen the trailers. Are you excited for it? Are you mad at what the liberties they're taking with the storyline, leaving the Spider-Man origin out? Let me know in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks.